Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're tackling something pretty timely in the crypto space, a brand new lawsuit against Coinbase.
That's right. We're going to give you the quick rundown, basically. We'll unpack this legal challenge, look at the law involved BIPA, and what it might mean for Coinbase users.
Especially those in Illinois.
Right, exactly. Especially them.
And our source here is super fresh, a Cointelegraph article from just a few hours ago today, May 19th. What really grabbed me is how this whole thing touches on that constant balancing act, security, regulation versus our privacy, especially biometric privacy.
Absolutely. It's becoming a bigger and bigger deal as our digital and physical selves get more linked.
Yeah.
So, okay, let's get right into it. What's the core allegation here?
Okay, let's unpack it. So the Cointelegraph piece says this is a class action lawsuit filed May 13th in federal court.
Right.
And it's brought by Coinbase users in Illinois. Scott Bernstein, Gina Greeter, James Lonergan, their main issue.
It boils down to Coinbase's identity checks the KYC process. Know your customer. They're saying it violates Illinois' Biometric Information Privacy Act.
Right.
BIPA.
BIPA. Okay, we've talked privacy before, but refresh us. What specific parts of BIPA are they saying Coinbase broke? Like, what did they allegedly do wrong?
Well, the lawsuit lists several things. First, they claim Coinbase didn't give users written notice. Notice that their biometric data face scans essentially was being collected, stored, or even shared.
Okay, no heads up in writing. What else?
Second, users apparently weren't told why Coinbase needed this data, or crucially, how long they'd keep it. BIPA is really big on that transparency, giving users control.
So it's not just that they collect it, but the whole lack of communication around it.
Precisely. You have a right under BIPA to know what's happening with your unique biometric info, like your face geometry.
Huh.
The suit also says Coinbase doesn't have a public policy about data retention. How long they keep the data when they destroy it, BIPA requires that too.
And this is where the selfie part comes in, right? The article mentions uploading ID and a selfie.
Yeah.
Then facial recognition scans it, creating what the lawsuit calls a faceprint.
Mm-hmm.
And the claim is this happens without proper informed written consent.
That's a huge point. BIPA is super strict about consent before collecting biometric data, like face scans. The argument is basically just requiring a selfie to use the service.
Yeah.
That doesn't cut it as informed written consent.
Right. It's not like clicking I agree on terms you haven't read. This needs explicit sign-off.
Exactly. You need to know clearly what you're signing up for in writing.
And it goes further. They allege Coinbase shares this data.
Yeah, the suit claims they share these face prints with third-party verification vendors. Companies like Jumio, Onfido, Authentics, Solaris.
Also without user consent.
Also without user consent, according to the plaintiffs. And interestingly, the suit alleges Coinbase specifically told these third parties to use their software to collect this data.
So they can't just say, oh, the vendor did it.
That seems to be the argument, yeah. That Coinbase is still on the hook for BIPA compliance, even if they outsource the tech part.
The article adds another layer here, something about arbitration.
Right. It mentions over 10,000 demands for arbitration filed over similar biometric issues with the American Arbitration Association.
10,000? Wow.
Yeah. And the allegation is Coinbase refused to pay the arbitration fees, so those cases got dismissed.
That suggests this isn't exactly a new or isolated complaint, then.
It certainly paints a picture of, widespread concern among users about how Coinbase handles this data.
Okay, so summing up the legal claims, 3 specific counts of violating BIPA, plus 1 for consumer fraud under Illinois state law.
Correct. The Illinois Consumer Fraud and Deceptive Business Practices Act.
And what are they asking for? What's the potential outcome if they win?
They're asking for money, mainly. Potentially a lot of it. $5,000 for each violation found to be willful or reckless.
Per violation, per user, potentially.
Per violation, yes.
Yeah.
And $1,000 for each negligent violation. Plus, they want injunctive relief. That means forcing Coinbase to actually change its practices to comply with BIPA.
And legal costs, naturally.
And legal costs, of course.
That $5,000 per willful violation, that could add up incredibly fast if it applies broadly.
Absolutely. The potential damages could be substantial.
Now, the article also gives a bit of context, mentioning other legal trouble for Coinbase recently.
Yeah, just briefly. It notes that since May 15th, when Coinbase disclosed that some support staff were bribed to leak customer data.
Oh, right. I remember hearing about that.
They've apparently been hit with at least 6 other lawsuits. Different issue data leakage, not biometrics, but it shows they're fighting fires on multiple fronts regarding user data.
And this isn't the first BIPA rodeo for Coinbase either, is it?
No, good point. The article mentions a similar BIPA lawsuit filed against them back in May 2023.
What happened with that one?
Well, that one got paused for arbitration. Then, this past February, it was dismissed without prejudice.
Meaning it could potentially be refiled.
Technically, yes. Dismissed without prejudice usually means the door isn't permanently closed. But it happened after Coinbase and those users reached some kind of agreement.
Interesting. So the issue isn't entirely new, even if this specific lawsuit is. Makes you wonder what changed or what that agreement entailed.
It does. The fact that similar claims are back suggests maybe the underlying issues weren't fully resolved, or perhaps this new group feels the previous resolution wasn't adequate.
Okay, let's tie this all together then. Key takeaway. Coinbase faces a new class action suit in Illinois, alleging they violated the state's strict biometric privacy law, BIPA, with their ID verification.
Right. The main complaints are no proper notice, no informed written consent for collecting and using facial data, these face prints, and sharing that data with third parties without permission.
Plus, a lack of clear public policies on data handling.
Exactly. And this whole case really highlights how important laws like BIPA are becoming. They put real teeth into regulating how companies handle our very personal, very sensitive biometric information.
The potential fines are serious, and forcing them to change practices could impact how they, and maybe others, verify identities in the future.
Definitely. It sends a signal.
So for you, listening, this is a good reminder, really, to be aware of how platforms use your biometric data, your face, your fingerprints. It's becoming more common for verification. And it shows there are laws, at least in some places like Illinois, designed to protect you.
Which leads to that bigger thought, doesn't it? As we use biometrics more and more, logging into phones, accounts, maybe even more things down the line, what does this mean for our privacy overall? How much control do we, or should we, really have over these unique identifiers?
That's the $1 million question, or maybe the $5,000 per violation question in this case that
Yeah.
we keep thinking about.